In the dead of night, under a stormy sky that crackles with lightning, a man stands alone in an ancient, crumbling ruin. His hands tremble as he lifts a mysterious mask to his face, a relic carved from weathered stone, etched with symbols that seem to pulse with an otherworldly energy. The moment it touches his skin, his world shatters. Visions flood his mind, a shadowy figure lurking in the fog-shrouded streets of a quiet American town, knife gleaming in the moonlight, eyes filled with murderous intent. But the horror deepens. This isn't just any killer. It's the face of the one who will end his life. And as the vision sharpens, he realizes the killer is staring right back at him. From a mirror. Welcome to the Ancient Mask of Foresight, a tale that will grip you from the first whisper to the final revelation. If you've ever wondered how far fear can drive a person, buckle up. This story will take you on a 60-minute journey through suspense, twists, and life-altering truths. Let's dive in. Our story begins in the misty hills of Willow Creek, a small town nestled in the dense forests of rural Maine, USA. It's the kind of place where everyone knows your name, but secrets lurk behind every picket fence and ancient oak tree. The year is 2025, and life here moves at a slow, predictable pace. Until it doesn't. Enter our protagonist, Ethan Harper, a 35-year-old history professor at the local community college. Ethan is the epitome of the curious academic, tall, with tousled brown hair, wire-rimmed glasses, and an insatiable thirst for the unknown. He's not your typical thrill-seeker. He's a widower who lost his wife, Sarah, in a tragic car accident 5 years ago. That loss left him hollow, burying himself in books and artifacts to escape the pain. But Ethan's life is about to collide with a legend that will unearth more than just history. Willow Creek has its share of folklore, passed down through generations of loggers and fishermen. The most chilling tale revolves around an ancient Native American artifact known as the Mask of Foresight. According to the stories whispered around campfires, this mask was crafted by a long-lost tribe from a sacred stone found deep in the Appalachian foothills. It grants the wearer a glimpse into their own demise, specifically the face of their future killer. But the catch? It's said to curse those who dare to use it, twisting their fate in ways they could never imagine. Most locals dismiss it as superstition, a yarn spun to scare kids away from the old ruins on the outskirts of town. Ethan, however, has always been drawn to such myths. As a historian specializing in indigenous artifacts, he's spent years researching similar relics, convinced they hold psychological truths rather than supernatural powers. One crisp autumn afternoon, while leading a field trip for his students to the abandoned Hawthorne Quarry, an old mining site turned historical landmark, Ethan stumbles upon something extraordinary. The quarry, overgrown with vines and shadowed by towering pines, was once a hub for granite extraction in the 1800s. But deeper in, hidden behind a collapsed tunnel entrance, Ethan notices a faint glow emanating from a crack in the rock face. Intrigued, he pries it open with his tools, revealing a small chamber untouched for centuries. Inside, on a pedestal of moss-covered stone, sits the mask. It's unlike anything he's seen. Smooth, obsidian-like material, adorned with intricate carvings of eyes and serpents, as if it's watching him back. His students, a mix of wide-eyed freshmen like young Mia Rodriguez and skeptical jock types like Jake Thompson, gather around in awe. "Professor Harper, is that real?" Mia asks, her voice hushed. Ethan, heart pounding with excitement, nods. It could be. This matches descriptions from old tribal records I've studied. But as he lifts it, a chill runs down his spine. The air in the chamber grows heavy, and for a split second, he swears he hears a whisper, like wind through dead leaves, murmuring warnings. Dismissing it as his imagination, he packs the mask away, planning to study it in his home office that night. Little does he know, this discovery is the spark that will ignite a nightmare. Back in his cozy Victorian house on Elm Street, surrounded by shelves of dusty tomes and flickering candlelight, Ethan can't resist. The town is quiet, the only sound the distant hoot of an owl. He pours himself a glass of whiskey, sits at his desk, and examines the mask under a lamp. The carvings seem to shift in the light, almost alive. Curiosity overrides caution. After all, he's a man of science. What's the harm in trying it on? He mutters to himself. As the mask settles over his face, the room spins. Darkness engulfs him, and suddenly a vivid vision assaults his senses. He's in a fog-laden alley behind the town's old mill, rain pounding the cobblestones. A figure approaches. A man in a hooded jacket, face partially obscured, but those eyes, cold, piercing blue, lock onto him. The stranger raises a jagged blade, and in that moment, Ethan feels the phantom pain of steel piercing his chest. He rips the mask off, gasping for air, sweat beading on his forehead. The vision was so real, the metallic tang of blood, the killer's ragged breath. Who was that man? Ethan doesn't recognize him, but the fear is paralyzing. He glances at the clock. It's only been seconds, but it felt like an eternity. Shaken, Ethan paces the room, his mind racing. Was it a hallucination? A trick of the mind induced by the mask's age-old patina? Or something more sinister? He recalls the legend's warning. The mask shows not just death, but the path that leads to it. Desperate for answers, he calls his old friend and colleague, Dr. Lena Blackwell, an anthropologist from Boston University. Lena, you won't believe what I found, he says, his voice trembling. She listens intently over the phone. Ethan, if it's what you think, destroy it. Those artifacts carry heavy energies, psychological or otherwise. But Ethan brushes it off. I need to know more. This could be groundbreaking. As the night deepens, Ethan can't sleep. He stares at the mask, now locked in a drawer, but the vision haunts him. The killer's face, mid-40s, scarred cheek, unkempt beard, burns in his memory. Who is he? A stranger? Or someone from Willow Creek's underbelly? Ethan decides he must investigate. Tomorrow, he'll start by visiting the town library's archives, digging into the mask's history. But as he drifts into uneasy slumber, dreams plague him. The alley, the knife, and a growing sense that the mask isn't just showing the future, it's shaping it. This is just the beginning of Ethan's descent into obsession. The mask's curse will test his sanity, unravel hidden truths about his past, and force him to confront the darkness within. Stay tuned as the tension builds. As dawn breaks over Willow Creek, painting the foggy streets in hues of gray and gold, Ethan Harper awakens with a start. The vision from the mask clings to him like a bad dream, refusing to fade. He rubs his eyes, glancing at the drawer where the artifact is hidden, and feels a pull, an inexplicable urge to put it on again. But reason prevails, at least for now. Ethan knows he can't ignore what he saw. If the mask truly reveals the future, then that killer is out there, somewhere in this sleepy town of 5,000 souls. He decides to start his day by heading to the Willow Creek Public Library, a quaint brick building downtown that's been standing since the Civil War era. There, he hopes to uncover more about the mask's origins and perhaps identify the face from his vision. The library is run by Mrs. Evelyn Grant, a sharp-witted woman in her late 60s with silver hair pinned in a bun and a no-nonsense attitude honed from decades of dealing with curious locals. She's known Ethan since he was a boy, back when his parents brought him for story hours. "Professor Harper, what brings you in so early? Another wild goose chase into history?" she teases as he approaches the reference desk. Ethan forces a smile, not wanting to alarm her. "Something like that, Evelyn. I'm researching an old Native American artifact, possibly from the Abenaki tribe. Legends about a mask that shows visions." Her eyes narrow, and she leans in closer. "The Mask of Foresight? Oh, child, that's no bedtime story. My grandmother used to warn us about it. Said it was cursed by the spirits of the land, stolen from a sacred burial site during the quarry days. Folks who found it, well, they didn't fare well." Evelyn pulls out a dusty ledger from the archives, flipping through yellowed pages filled with handwritten notes and clippings from the 19th century. "Here," she says, pointing to an entry from 1892. It describes a miner named Josiah Reed who unearthed a similar mask in the Hawthorne quarry. According to the account, Reed donned it and went mad, claiming he saw his own murderer, a rival worker. Days later, Reed was found dead in an alley, stabbed, but the killer was never caught. Some said Reed did it to himself in a fit of paranoia. Ethan feels a chill. The parallels are uncanny. "This can't be coincidence," he mutters. Evelyn nods gravely. "Be careful, Ethan. Knowledge like that, it changes a man." Armed with this information, Ethan heads to the local diner, the Rusty Anchor, for coffee and to clear his head. The place is buzzing with morning regulars. Farmers in flannel shirts, truckers nursing hangovers, and a few off-duty cops. He sketches the killer's face on a napkin, those blue eyes, the scar, hoping someone might recognize it. His student Mia from the field trip spots him and slides into the booth. "Professor, you look like you haven't slept. Is it that mask?" "Jake and I were talking. It gave us the creeps." Ethan hesitates, but shows her the sketch. "Ever seen anyone like this around town?" Mia studies it, then shakes her head. "No, but there's this new guy at the mill, works the night shift, kinda shady. Name's Victor Kane, moved here a month ago from out west. Scar on his cheek from some accident, or so he says." Victor's name sends a jolt through Ethan. Could it be? He thanks Mia and rushes to the old mill on the town's edge, a hulking structure of rusted metal and creaking timbers where lumber is still processed for export. The foreman, a burly man named Hank Dorsey, eyes Ethan suspiciously. "Looking for Kane?" "He's on breakout back. But make it quick. We're short-staffed." Ethan finds Victor smoking by the loading dock, a rugged figure in his 40s, with piercing blue eyes and, yes, a faint scar on his left cheek. The resemblance is striking, but not exact. Victor turns, noticing Ethan's stare. "Can I help you, buddy?" His voice is gruff, laced with a Midwestern accent. Ethan stammers, Just new in town?" "I'm Ethan Harper, teach history at the college." Victor chuckles darkly. "Yeah, fresh start. Lost my job back in Ohio. This place ain't bad, though the locals whisper too much." As they talk, Ethan probes subtly about Victor's past, but the man is evasive. Suddenly, Victor's phone buzzes, and he excuses himself. Ethan lingers, heart racing. convinced this is the man from the vision. But is he jumping to conclusions? Paranoia creeps in. Every shadow seems threatening. That evening back home, Ethan can't resist the mask again. He tells himself it's for confirmation. Donning it, the vision returns. Sharper this time. The alley, the rain. But now he sees more. The killer's jacket has a mill logo patch. It's Victor. Or is it? As he removes the mask, a knock at the door startles him. It's Dr. Lena Blackwell, who drove up from Boston after his frantic call. Lena, a poised woman in her 40s with sharp features and a PhD in cultural anthropology, hugs him tightly. Ethan, you sound unhinged. Show me this thing. He does, and she examines it with gloved hands. This is authentic. Pre-Columbian influences mixed with local tribal motifs. But visions? That's suggestibility, my friend. Your mind's playing tricks, amplified by grief over Sarah. They debate late into the night. Lena argues it's psychological. The mask triggers subconscious fears, manifesting as hallucinations. Studies on similar artifacts show users project their anxieties. Think of it like a Rorschach test on steroids. She cites real-world examples, like the placebo effect in shamanic rituals documented in anthropological journals, where participants see futures that drive self-fulfilling prophecies. Ethan wants to believe her, but the visions feel too vivid. As Lena leaves, promising to research more, Ethan hides the mask in his basement safe. Yet sleep evades him. Whispers echo in his mind, and he begins to question everyone, neighbors, students, even old friends. The next day, tension escalates when Ethan spots Victor, in town, arguing with Hank at the hardware store. Words like debts and threats float in the air. Ethan follows Victor discreetly to a seedy bar on the outskirts, the Foggy Lantern, where rough crowds gather. Inside, amid clinking glasses and cigarette smoke, he overhears Victor on the phone. Yeah, I'll handle it. No loose ends. Ethan's blood runs cold. Is this proof? He confronts Victor in the parking lot, accusations spilling out. I know what you're planning. Victor laughs it off at first, then grabs Ethan's collar. You crazy? Stay out of my business, Professor. A scuffle ensues, broken up by bar patrons. Ethan flees, bruised and terrified, realizing he's crossed a line. Back home, the mask calls to him once more. This time, the vision shifts. Now, in the alley, Ethan sees himself lunging first, knife in hand. Horror dawns. Is he becoming the killer? The line between victim and perpetrator blurs, and Ethan's world spirals. What if the mask isn't showing his murderer, but the monster he's creating within? This revelation propels us deeper into the abyss. Ethan's obsession grows. Alliances form and fracture, and the town's secrets begin to unravel. The days blur into a haze for Ethan Harper as the mask's influence tightens its grip. Willow Creek, once a haven of predictability, now feels like a labyrinth of threats. Every face on the street could be the one from his visions. Cold blue eyes watching from behind diner windows or shadowed porches. Ethan's obsession deepens. He skips classes, ignores calls from concerned colleagues, and spends hours poring over town records in his basement. The safe where he stashed the mask becomes a forbidden temptation, whispering promises of clarity amid the chaos. But each time he resists, the paranoia festers. Am I losing my mind? He asks his reflection in the mirror, noticing the dark circles under his eyes, the unkempt stubble. The man staring back looks more like the scarred figure from his nightmares than the polished professor he once was. Lena Blackwell returns to Willow Creek, alarmed by Ethan's increasingly erratic voicemails. She arrives at his door with a suitcase of research materials, books on psychosomatic phenomena, case studies of artifact-induced delusions from around the world. Ethan, this isn't supernatural. It's trauma resurfacing, she insists, setting up in his living room. She references real psychological studies, like the 1970s experiments by Dr. Elizabeth Loftus on false memories, where suggestion alone could implant vivid, fabricated events in participants' minds. The mask is a catalyst. Your grief over Sarah, combined with the legend's power of suggestion, is creating these visions. It's like how people in haunted houses see ghosts because they expect to. Ethan wants to believe her, but the visions feel too tangible, too prophetic. To prove her point, Lena suggests a controlled test. They drive to the Hawthorne Quarry under the cover of dusk, the site where Ethan found the mask. The air is thick with the scent of pine and damp earth, and distant thunder rumbles like a warning. Lena wears gloves, handling the mask with clinical detachment. I'll try it on. If I see nothing, it's all in your head. Ethan protests, but she persists. As the mask covers her face, she gasps, her body stiffening. Seconds stretch into eternity before she yanks it off, pale and shaken. Nothing, just darkness. But it felt wrong, like something probing my thoughts. Her voice wavers, cracking her scientific facade. Ethan seizes on this. See? It's real. But Lena recovers, attributing it to autosuggestion. Deep down, doubt creeps into her too. Back in town, the confrontation with Victor Kane escalates the stakes. Word spreads about their scuffle at the Foggy Lantern, and soon, Sheriff Carla Ramirez pays Ethan a visit. Carla, a no-nonsense Latina woman in her 50s, with a badge polished from years of small-town policing, sits across from him in his kitchen. Professor, I've known you since you were knee-high. What's this about accusing newcomers of murder plots? Ethan, desperate, shows her the sketch. It's not accusation. It's foresight. This mask, Carla interrupts, sighing. Legends are just that. But Victor's got a record. Assault in Ohio, tied to gambling debts. He's clean here, though. Stay away, or I'll have to get involved officially. Her words plant seeds of validation. Victor's past fits the killer profile. But Carla's warning adds pressure. Now Ethan's actions could land him in legal trouble. Undeterred, Ethan enlists his student Mia's help. Young and tech-savvy, Mia digs into Victor's online presence from her dorm room, uncovering social media posts hinting at a troubled life, cryptic messages about settling scores, and photos from seedy bars. Professor, this guy's shady, but nothing concrete, she reports over a late-night video call. Jake Thompson, Mia's classmate and a burly football player with a protective streak, joins in. If he's trouble, we got your back, Professor. Their youthful enthusiasm bolsters Ethan, but it also draws them into danger. One evening, while staking out Victor's run-down trailer on the town's fringe, they spot him meeting a mysterious figure in a black SUV. Words are exchanged heatedly, and money changes hands. Debts, Jake whispers. As they sneak away, a branch snaps underfoot. Victor whirls around, eyes scanning the darkness. Ethan and the kids barely escape, hearts pounding. That night, the mask beckons irresistibly. Alone in his basement, surrounded by flickering fluorescent lights and stacks of files, Ethan dons it once more. The vision evolves. Now, the alley confrontation involves not just the knife, but a chase through Willow Creek's winding streets. He sees Victor cornering him, but then Twist. Ethan fights back, disarming the man and turning the blade. Blood spills, but whose? The ambiguity terrifies him. Removing the mask, Ethan collapses, sobbing. What am I becoming? The line between self-defense and premeditation blurs, echoing real-life cases like the Stanford prison experiment, where ordinary people adopted violent roles under pressure. As suspicions mount, Ethan uncovers a town secret. The mask's history ties to a 1920s scandal. In the library's restricted section, with Evelyn's reluctant help, he finds documents about a bootlegger who used the quarry for smuggling. The man, ancestor to Hank Dorsey the foreman, allegedly killed to protect his operation after glimpsing his fate in the mask. History repeats, Evelyn murmurs. This revelation links Victor, hired by Hank, to potential modern crimes, perhaps drug running through the mill. Ethan's investigation turns personal when he receives an anonymous note slipped under his door. Stop digging, or the vision comes true. The climax builds as Ethan confronts Hank at the mill, accusations flying amid the roar of machinery. You're covering for Victor. What's the real story? Hank denies it, but his evasion fuels Ethan's rage. A heated argument turns physical, tools clattering as they grapple. In the scuffle, Ethan grabs a wrench, mirroring the visions. Violence. He stops short, horrified at his impulse. Fleeing into the night, he realizes the mask isn't just predicting death. It's provoking it, turning fear into reality. Alliances strain. Lena urges therapy, citing PTSD studies from veterans who hallucinate threats. Mia and Jake pull back, scared. But Ethan presses on, the web tightening. A midnight call from Victor, "We need to talk," sets the stage for a showdown. Is it a trap or redemption? The shadows deepen, pulling Ethan toward an irreversible choice. The mask's curse reveals not just killers, but the darkness in us all. Ethan Harper's world is fracturing, piece by piece, under the weight of the Mask of Foresight. Willow Creek's serene facade, its maple-lined streets, and the gentle murmur of the river now mocks him with hidden perils. Sleepless nights blend into frantic days, where every creak of his old house sounds like footsteps, every stranger's glance a veiled threat. The anonymous note, "Stop digging or the vision comes true," sits on his desk like a ticking bomb, its jagged handwriting analyzed obsessively for clues. Ethan traces it to cheap printer paper from the local store, but that leads nowhere. Paranoia peaks. He installs security cameras around his home, their red lights blinking like accusatory eyes. Lena Blackwell, sensing Ethan's unraveling, stays in Willow Creek, converting his guest room into a makeshift research hub. Piles of academic papers scatter the floor. Studies on collective hysteria from Salem witch trial analyses, where fear bred self-fulfilling doom. "Look at this," Lena says, holding up a journal article on mirror neuron theory. "Your brain is mirroring the violence you see, priming you for aggression. It's science, not sorcery." She cites a 2018 study from the Journal of Neuroscience, where participants exposed to violent imagery showed heightened fight-or-flight responses, leading to impulsive acts. Ethan nods, but his faith wavers. If it's all in my head, why does it feel so inevitable? Their debates grow heated, revealing cracks in their friendship. Lena confesses her own vision at the quarry wasn't empty. She glimpsed a car crash, echoing Sarah's death. "It pulled from my fears too. We have to break the cycle." Meanwhile, Victor Kane's midnight call haunts Ethan. "Meet me at the old bridge at dawn, alone, or regret it." The bridge, a rusted iron span over the rushing creek on the town's edge, is infamous for suicides and illicit deals. Ethan debates going. Sheriff Carla warned him off. But curiosity, laced with dread, wins. He tells no one, slipping out before sunrise. Fog cloaks the landscape, turning trees into spectral guardians. Victor waits, leaning on the railing, a cigarette glowing in the dim light. You think I'm out to get you, Professor? You're the one stalking me. His voice is weary, not menacing. Ethan, fists clenched, demands answers. I know your past, assault, debts, and I've seen things. Victor laughs bitterly, revealing scars from a life on the run, abusive family, bad choices. Hank hired me to pay off what I owe. Smuggling. Nah, just hauling extra loads under the table. But you're stirring trouble that could get us both killed. The conversation twists when Victor mentions a mutual connection. Sarah, Ethan's late wife. She was my cousin's friend. Small world. Heard about the accident. Drunk driver, right? Ethan's blood freezes. The accident was ruled hit and run, perpetrator never found. Could Victor be linked? Doubts swarm. As they part uneasily, Victor warns, watch your back. Not everyone's who they seem. Ethan drives away, mind reeling. Back home, he confides in Mia and Jake over encrypted messages. The kids insist on helping, hacking into county records. They uncover a bombshell. Hank Dorsey's family owned the vehicle suspected in Sarah's crash, covered up decades ago. Prof, this mask, it's connecting dots we missed, Mia texts. Fueled by rage, Ethan confronts Hank at his lakeside cabin, a secluded spot amid whispering pines. The sun sets, casting long shadows as Ethan pounds on the door. Hank answers, shotgun in hand. You again? Get off my property. Words escalate to shouts. Ethan accuses him of the cover-up, linking it to the mask's curse. Hank denies vehemently but slips, mentioning old family sins buried in the quarry. A struggle ensues. Hank swings the gun. Ethan dodges, grabbing a nearby log. Echoes of the vision flash. Violence begetting violence. Ethan hesitates, dropping the weapon. I won't become what it shows. Hank, panting, confesses partial truth. His grandfather killed to hide smuggling, using the mask as justification. It drives men mad. Destroy it before it destroys you. Escaping the cabin, Ethan races to Lena, who waits anxiously. Together, they piece together the puzzle. The mask amplifies buried traumas, manifesting as foresight. Lena draws parallels to real therapy cases, like EMDR treatments where patients relive events, sometimes fabricating details to cope. Your guilt over surviving Sarah, it's projecting onto Victor, Hank. But a new vision strikes when Ethan, in desperation, dons the mask again in his car. This time, it's multi-layered. The alley, but now multiple faces. Victor, Hank, even himself, cycle through the killer's role. And in the background, a woman's silhouette. Sarah. He rips it off, crashing into a ditch from distraction. Bruised but alive, he calls Sheriff Carla, spilling everything. Carla arrives with deputies, skeptical but thorough. They raid the mill, finding evidence of minor embezzlement, not murder. Victor's arrested for outstanding warrants, but he's no killer, just a pawn. Hank flees, triggering a manhunt. Amid the chaos, Ethan realizes the mask's true power. It reflects inner demons, pushing users toward self-destruction. Like in documented cases of doomsday cults, where prophecies lead to fulfilled tragedies through actions taken to avert them. As sirens wail, Ethan vows to end it. With Lena's help, they return to the quarry under moonlight, intent on smashing the mask. But doubts linger. Is destruction the answer, or acceptance? The echoes of the past demand a reckoning. pulling Ethan toward a fateful choice. The moon hangs low over the hawthorn quarry, casting an eerie silver glow on the jagged rocks and twisted vines that guard its secrets. Ethan Harper and Lena Blackwell stand at the entrance, the mask of foresight clutched in Ethan's trembling hands. The air is thick with anticipation, the distant howl of a coyote echoing like a lament for lost sanity. "This ends tonight," Ethan declares, his voice steady despite the storm raging inside him. Lena nods, flashlight beam dancing over the mask's carved surface. "Smash it, Ethan. Break the hold it has on you." But as they step into the chamber where the artifact was found, doubts assail him. What if destroying it seals the fate it foretold? The legends Evelyn shared whisper in his mind. Those who tried to defy the mask met grisly ends, their visions manifesting in twisted irony. They set up in the dim cavern, using a sledgehammer Ethan borrowed from his garage. The tool feels heavy, symbolic of the burden he's carried since that fateful field trip. Lena spreads out her notes, reciting evidence to bolster their resolve. Remember the case of the cursed idol in Peru? Anthropologists documented how villagers destroyed it, and the curse lifted, purely psychological release. Studies from the American Psychological Association show that ritualistic acts, like breaking an object tied to trauma, can rewire neural pathways, reducing anxiety by up to 40%. She cites a 2022 meta-analysis in the Journal of Clinical Psychology, where participants shattered representations of their fears, leading to measurable decreases in PTSD symptoms. Ethan grips the hammer, drawing strength from the science. For Sarah, for peace. As he raises the hammer, a gust of wind whips through the quarry, extinguishing their lights. Darkness envelops them, and in that void, Ethan hears voices, whispers in an ancient tongue. Perhaps Abenaki echoes from the mask's creators. Panic surges. He swings blindly, but the hammer glances off rock, sparking. Lena fumbles for her phone's light, illuminating the scene just as Ethan stumbles. The mask slips from his grasp, tumbling into a crevice. "No!" he cries, diving after it. His fingers brush the edge, but it's wedged deep. In desperation, he presses his face close, and involuntarily, the vision strikes without the mask touching him. It's evolved. The alley now pulses with details. The rain-slicked pavement reflecting neon from a distant bar, the killer's breath fogging the air. But the face shifts again. Victor's eyes, Hank's scar, his own grimace. And behind it all, Sarah's voice calls, "Why didn't you save me?" Ethan reels back, collapsing against the wall. Lena pulls him up. "It's not real. Your mind's filling gaps with guilt." They dig frantically, using tools from Ethan's backpack. But the mask remains elusive. Hours pass. Exhaustion sets in. As dawn creeps over the hills, they emerge empty-handed, defeated. "It's like it doesn't want to be destroyed," Ethan mutters, slumped in Lena's car. She drives him home, the silence heavy. Back on Elm Street, the house feels colder, shadows longer. Ethan checks his cameras. Nothing amiss. But a new note awaits on the porch. You can't escape what's coming. The handwriting matches the first, but now it's signed with a crude drawing of the mask. The breaking point intensifies when Sheriff Carla calls with updates. Hank Dorsey's been spotted fleeing toward the state line, but Victor's released on bail, claiming innocence. "Ethan, stay put. We're handling this." But trust erodes. Ethan suspects Carla might be involved, her family tied to the town's old guard. He rallies Mia and Jake for a clandestine meeting at the diner. The kids arrive wide-eyed, Mia with a laptop full of deep web finds. Professor, I cross-reference the mask with online forums, similar artifacts in native lore. One thread on Reddit's R-cursed objects describes a user who saw their killer, and it was themselves in a mirror. Jake adds muscle. If Victor's free, let's tail him. Their plan? Shadow Victor to uncover the smuggling ring, potentially linking back to Sarah's death. That night, under cover of darkness, the trio follows Victor from his trailer to the foggy lantern. Inside the bar, smoke haze and country music mask their entry. Victor meets a shady contact, tattooed arms, shifty eyes, exchanging a package. Ethan snaps photos discreetly, but Jake bumps a table, drawing attention. Victor spots them, eyes narrowing. You again? This ends now. A bar brawl erupts. Fists fly. Bottles shatter. Ethan dodges a punch, grabbing a stool for defense, the scene mirroring his visions. Mia pulls him out as sirens wail. Carla's deputies arrive, hauling everyone in. At the station, interrogations unfold. Carla separates them, grilling Ethan. This obsession's turning you violent. Sound familiar? Like those old quarry tales. He confesses about the mask, expecting ridicule, but Carla's expression softens. My abuela told stories of it. Destroyed lives in my family too. She reveals a personal stake. Her great-uncle was Josiah Reed, the miner from 1892. It drove him to suicide, thinking he was the killer. This humanizes her, forging an uneasy alliance. Released with a warning, Ethan returns home to find his basement ransacked, the safe pried open, but the mask's gone? No. Wait. It's on his desk, pristine, as if it returned itself. Terror peaks. Another vision, unbidden, shows the alley showdown imminent. Tonight. Ethan arms himself with a kitchen knife, barricading doors. Lena arrives, horrified. This is escalation, like the Milgram experiments, obedience to fear leading to harm. But Ethan's beyond reason. A knock echoes. Victor? Hank? The breaking point shatters as Ethan opens the door, knife raised, ready to fulfill or defy the prophecy. The knock at Ethan's door echoes like a death knell, reverberating through the dimly lit hallway of his Victorian home. Knife gripped tightly in his sweating palm, Ethan peers through the peephole, heart slamming against his ribs. It's Victor Kane, rain-soaked and disheveled, his blue eyes gleaming under the porch light. Harper, open up. We gotta talk. Now. Victor's voice booms, laced with urgency rather than malice. Ethan hesitates, the vision flashing. The alley, the blade, blood pooling on wet pavement. Is this the moment? Lena, standing behind him with a phone ready to dial 911, whispers fiercely, Don't! It could be a trap. But Ethan, driven by a toxic mix of fear and defiance, unlatches the door, knife hidden behind his back. What do you want, Kane? Come to finish it? Victor steps in, dripping water on the hardwood floor, hands raised in surrender. Easy, Professor. I'm not here to fight. That note wasn't me, but I know who sent it. Hank. He's unhinged, thinks you're onto the real scam. As they move to the living room, cluttered with Lena's research papers and empty coffee mugs, Victor spills his story. He's no saint. Debts from a gambling addiction led him to Willow Creek, where Hank promised easy money, hauling off-books cargo through the mill. But it escalated. Hank's using the old quarry tunnels for smuggling opioids, cashing in on the rural crisis. Your wife's accident? Hank's cousin was the driver, high on the stuff they peddle, covered it up to protect the family business. Ethan's world tilts. Sarah's death wasn't random tragedy, but collateral in a web of corruption. Lena interjects, skepticism sharp. Proof? Or are you deflecting? Victor pulls a flash drive from his pocket. Recordings, manifests. I was going to turn it in, but Hank's watching. As Ethan plugs it into his laptop, files reveal damning evidence. Emails, photos of shipments hidden in quarry crates, even a blurry video of the hit-and-run vehicle matching Hank's family plates. It's real, corroborated by timestamps and metadata that align with police reports Ethan once pored over in grief. But the revelation twists deeper. One file mentions the mask. Hank's ancestors used it during Prohibition, foreseeing rivals to justify preemptive strikes. He found it recently, planted it for you to discover, hoping it'd drive you mad, make you an easy target to silence. The pieces click. The mask wasn't ancient fate, but a manipulated tool in a modern scheme. Ethan's visions, amplified by subconscious cues. Hank's subtle threats. Victor's resemblance to descriptions in old tales Hank might have fed through town gossip. Lena nods, connecting it to psychological warfare tactics documented in CIA declassified files from the MKULTRA era, where artifacts and suggestions induced paranoia to control subjects. It's gaslighting on steroids. Hank's playing God with history, but doubt lingers for Ethan. The visions felt too visceral, too prophetic. If it's all manipulation, why do I see myself as the killer? Tension snaps when Ethan's security app buzzes. Cameras show Hank's truck pulling up outside, headlights cutting through the storm. He's here, Victor growls, grabbing a fireplace poker. Lena dials Carla, but lines are down. Storm or sabotage? Hank bursts in, shotgun leveled, eyes wild. You meddlers! That mask showed me. You all die tonight. The room erupts. Ethan lunges, knife flashing. Victor swings the poker. Lena dives for cover. Shots ring out, shattering a window. In the melee, Ethan tackles Hank, the two grappling on the floor amid overturned furniture. Visions overlay reality. The alley morphs into his living room, rain outside mimicking the downpour in his mind. Hank snarls, "The mask never lies. It showed me killing you." Ethan, pinning him, realizes the irony. Hank donned it too, seeing his own demise at Ethan's hands. A blast from the shotgun grazes Ethan's arm, blood blooming on his shirt. Pain sharpens focus. He disarms Hank, the weapon skidding away. Victor restrains the foreman, zip-tying him with cords from the curtains. Lena, emerging shaken, tends Ethan's wound with a towel. Sirens wail in the distance. Backup arriving, perhaps tipped by Mia, who'd been monitoring from afar. As deputies storm in, led by Carla, Hank rants about curses and foresight. "It predicted this. I'm the victim." Carla cuffs him, muttering, "Delusions won't save you in court." Evidence from the flash drive seals his fate. Arrests for smuggling, cover-ups, and now attempted murder. In the aftermath, as paramedics bandage Ethan in the ambulance, relief wars with trauma. The mask, where is it? In the chaos, it vanished again, perhaps pocketed by Hank or lost in the scuffle. Searches turn up nothing, but Ethan feels its absence like a lifted weight. Lena stays by his side, quoting recovery stats from trauma survivors. A 2023 study in The Lancet showed 70% of those confronting induced fears through exposure therapy regained normalcy within months. Victor, cleared of major charges, nods gratitude before vanishing into witness protection. Yet, as Ethan recovers in the hospital, whispers return. A nurse mentions a strange stone face found in Hank's truck, confiscated as evidence. Ethan requests to see it one last time, against advice. Alone in his room, he holds it, tempted. No vision comes, just silence. Has the curse broken? Or was it always illusion? He smashes it against the bed rail, shards scattering. Freedom tastes bittersweet. But shadows persist. Mia texts about loose ends. Jake reports sightings of similar masks online. The descent may be over, but the madness echoes, hinting at deeper forces. In the sterile quiet of Willow Creek General Hospital, Ethan Harper lies in a crisp white bed, the beeps of monitors punctuating the silence like a metronome counting down to resolution. His arm is bandaged from Hank's shotgun graze, a superficial wound that stings less than the mental scars etched by the Mask of Foresight. Shards of the shattered artifact glitter on the nightstand, remnants of his impulsive destruction. Lena Blackwell sits vigil in a vinyl chair, her laptop open to emails from colleagues confirming the mask's composition. Not sacred stone, but a clever forgery infused with hallucinogenic residues, perhaps fungi or chemicals from the quarry, explaining the vivid visions. See? She says softly, scrolling through a forensic report. Gas chromatography shows traces of ergot alkaloids, like in historical witch hunts. It induces hallucinations, amplified by suggestion. A 2019 study in neuropsychopharmacology linked similar compounds to prophetic delusions in test subjects. Ethan stares at the ceiling, processing. The mask wasn't cursed by spirits, but crafted by human malice. Hank's doing, using old tribal designs to manipulate. Sheriff Carla Ramirez visits, her boots clicking on the tile floor. Hank's singing like a canary downtown, confessed to planting the mask during your field trip, hoping it'd drive you off the trail of his operation. Your wife's case, reopened. Evidence points to his nephew as the driver, fueled by the drugs they smuggled. Carla's voice carries a mix of triumph and sorrow. Justice delayed, but delivered. She cites dashcam footage from the flash drive, time-stamped to match the accident, corroborated by witness statements buried in old files. Real evidence, not visions. Discharged the next day, Ethan returns home to a town buzzing with scandal. Willow Creek's facade cracks. The mill shuts down for investigation. Locals whisper about corruption reaching City Hall. Mia and Jake drop by with pizza and moral support. Professor, you're a hero. That brawl was epic, Jake boasts, flexing dramatically. Mia, more reflective, shares her research. Online databases of artifact forgeries, like the British Museum's exposés on faked relics used in scams. Hank probably got the idea from those. Mix legend with psychedelics to control people. Their youthful energy lifts Ethan, reminding him of life's anchors beyond paranoia. But closure eludes him. Nightmares persist. Fragments of visions where he's the aggressor, knife in hand. Therapy sessions with a counselor recommended by Lena delve into this. Self-fulfilling prophecies, the therapist explains, referencing Carl Jung's shadow archetype. How repressed fears manifest as external threats. A landmark study from Harvard's 2021 Psychology Review shows how individuals under stress project inner conflicts onto others, escalating to violence in 35% of cases. Ethan journals his thoughts, confronting guilt over Sarah, survivor's remorse, the what-ifs that the mask exploited. I didn't cause her death, but I let fear almost cause mine, he admits in one entry. Weeks pass. Ethan resumes teaching, incorporating the ordeal into lessons on folklore versus fact. His class on indigenous artifacts draws record attendance, Students like Mia debating the ethics of cultural relics. What if the mask was real in a way, revealing truths we ignore? One asks. Ethan smiles wryly. It was, but truths twisted by our own minds. Outside academia, he volunteers at a local crisis center, helping others with trauma, drawing from personal experience. Statistics bolster his efforts. The National Institute of Mental Health reports that narrative therapy, sharing stories like his, reduces anxiety by 50% in participants. Victor Kane resurfaces via a letter, no return address. Thanks for the chaos. It set me straight. Clean now, new life. Enclosed, a photo of him at a rehab center, scar faded, eyes clearer. It humanizes the killer from Visions, a victim of circumstance like Ethan. Hank's trial looms, evidence mounting, the flash drive, quarry raids uncovering stashes worth millions. Carla testifies, her family's historical ties exposed but redeemed through her integrity. Yet, a final twist lingers. Cleaning his basement, Ethan finds a shard missed from the hospital smash, etched with a symbol that glows faintly under blacklight. Analysis at Lena's lab. Residual bioluminescence. Harmless, but eerie. Coincidence, she assures. But Ethan buries it in the woods, ritualistically ending the chapter. As autumn leaves fall, he walks with Lena along the creek, hand in hand, friendship blooming into something more. The real curse was isolation, he reflects. Facing fears together breaks it. The unmasking reveals not supernatural horror, but human frailty. Willow Creek heals, scars fading like morning mist. But in quiet moments, Ethan wonders, was there a kernel of truth in the foresight, or just lessons hard learned? As winter's first snow dusts the rooftops of Willow Creek, Ethan Harper finds himself in a fragile peace, the echoes of the Mask of Foresight fading like footprints in the fresh powder. His Victorian home on Elm Street, once a fortress of fear, now hums with tentative normalcy. Books reshelved, cameras dismantled, the basement cleared of frantic notes. The scar on his arm from Hank's shotgun serves as a tangible reminder, itching under sweaters as he grades papers by the fireplace. Lena Blackwell has become a constant presence, her Boston commutes turning into weekend stays that stretch into weeks. Their relationship, born from shared ordeal, blossoms quietly. Shared meals at the Rusty Anchor. Walks along the frozen creek, where they dissect the events with analytical detachment. We survived because we questioned, Lena says one evening, sipping herbal tea. Blind faith in visions, whether supernatural or self-imposed, leads to ruin. Ethan nods, but inner turmoil simmers. Therapy continues, sessions delving into cognitive behavioral techniques proven effective in studies from the American Journal of Psychiatry, where reframing traumatic memories reduced relapse rates by 60%. The mask exploited your vulnerabilities, his counselor explains, much like how phishing scams prey on emotional triggers in cybersecurity research. Ethan applies this, volunteering more at the crisis center, sharing anonymized versions of his story with groups. One participant, a young veteran haunted by wartime hallucinations, connects deeply. It's like my IED visions, felt real but weren't fate. These interactions ground him. Statistics from the VA underscoring success. Peer support groups lower suicide risks by 25%. Yet redemption's path twists unexpectedly. Mia Rodriguez, now Ethan's star student, uncovers a loose thread during a class project on local history. Digging through digitized archives at the library with Evelyn Grant's guidance, she finds references to multiple masks. Not one artifact, but a series crafted by a 19th century forger inspired by Abenaki lore. Prof, Hanks was a copy, but the original might still be out there, Mia emails, attaching scans of yellowed blueprints. Jake Thompson, ever the action-oriented sidekick, proposes a final hunt to the quarry, half-joking. Ethan dismisses it at first, but curiosity nags, amplified by a recurring dream. The alley, but peaceful, with Sarah smiling from the shadows. Compelled, Ethan organizes a small expedition. Himself, Lena, Mia, Jake, and even Sheriff Carla, who joins off-duty with a wry smile. "Closure for all of us," she says, her truck loaded with gear. The quarry, blanketed in snow, feels less ominous under daylight, pines heavy with frost. They navigate the tunnels with lanterns and maps, echoes of their footsteps mingling with dripping water. Deeper in, beyond the chamber where Ethan first found the mask, they discover a hidden alcove sealed by rubble. Jake clears it with a pickaxe, revealing a cache. Dusty relics, including what appears to be the authentic mask, rougher, aged wood instead of stone, carvings worn but potent. The group tenses. Ethan feels the pull, a whisper in his mind. "Don't," Lena warns, citing the nocebo effect from medical trials where belief in harm causes real symptoms. But Ethan, seeking true redemption, dons it briefly. Eyes closed, breath steady. No vision assaults him. Instead, a sense of release, like exhaling a long-held breath. "Nothing," he reports, removing it with a laugh. "Just wood." Analysis later confirms, no hallucinogens, pure artifact. The curse was always psychological, perpetuated by stories and forgeries like Hank's. They donate it to a museum in Boston, with stipulations against handling, preserving history without harm. This discovery cements Ethan's growth. Back in Willow Creek, Hank's trial concludes. Guilty on all counts, sentenced to decades, his smuggling ring dismantled. Victor's letter evolves into occasional check-ins, his recovery inspiring Ethan to mentor others. Mia graduates with honors, crediting the adventure for her anthropology passion. Jake channels his energy into community watch programs. Carla receives a commendation, her family's past redeemed. In quiet reflection, Ethan writes a book proposal, Foresight's Illusion, blending memoir with science. Publishers bite, drawn to parallels with real cases like the Satanic Panic of the 1980s, where mass hysteria birthed false memories, as detailed in FBI behavioral analyses. Royalties fund scholarships for local youth, turning pain into purpose. As spring thaws the creek, Ethan proposes to Lena on the old bridge, site of his tense meeting with Victor. From shadows to light, he says, ring in hand. She accepts, their future unclouded by prophecies. Redemption isn't erasure, it's rebuilding, one truthful step at a time. But in the museum, under glass, the original mask waits, eyes carved deep, as if watching for the next curious soul. With the original Mask of Foresight safely ensconced in a Boston museum, Ethan Harper begins to reclaim the fragments of his life scattered by the ordeal. Spring in Willow Creek brings renewal. Crocuses pushing through thawed soil. The creek swelling with meltwater, carrying away winter's chill. Ethan's book, Foresight's Illusion, takes shape on his desk, a manuscript blending personal narrative with rigorous analysis. He types late into the night, the clack of keys a rhythmic exorcism of lingering doubts. Lena, now officially relocated to a teaching position at the community college, reviews drafts over breakfast. "This chapter on self-fulfilling prophecies is gold," she praises, highlighting passages. Tie it to the ash conformity experiments from the 1950s, how group pressure distorts perception, much like the town's legends warped ours. Ethan agrees, incorporating real psychological benchmarks. He recalls how the mask's visions mirrored the Pygmalion effect, where expectations shape outcomes, as evidenced in a 1968 study by Rosenthal and Jacobson on teacher biases influencing student performance. Applying this, Ethan mentors struggling students like a new kid, reminiscent of his younger self, curious but haunted by family troubles. Your mind can trick you into failure or success, he tells the boy during office hours. Choose the latter. The interaction heals him. Statistics from educational psychology journals affirming that positive reinforcement boosts resilience by 30 to 40%. But whispers of the past persist, subtle at first. Anonymous emails arrive, cryptic messages with subject lines like, "The eyes still watch." Ethan traces them to spoofed IPs, dismissing as pranks from Hank's lingering associates. Carla investigates, uncovering a small network of ex-smugglers bitter about the bust. Loose ends, she grunts over coffee at the diner. But we've got eyes on them. Victor Kane's check-ins turn advisory. A postcard from an undisclosed location warns, "Old habits die hard. Stay vigilant." Ethan heeds it, installing better home security. But the paranoia tests his recovery. Nightmares evolve. No longer violent alleys, but endless mirrors reflecting distorted selves, echoing Carl Rogers' humanistic theory on incongruence between ideal and real self, leading to anxiety. To combat this, Ethan joins a support group for trauma survivors, facilitated online by experts from the National Center for PTSD. Sharing his story anonymously, he connects with others who faced induced delusions, veterans, cult escapees. One woman recounts a similar artifact experience in a South American dig, visions driving her to isolation until therapy intervened. EMDR rewired my brain, she shares, backed by a 2014 meta-analysis in the Journal of Anxiety Disorders showing 84% efficacy in reducing intrusive thoughts. Ethan tries it, sessions guiding him through eye movements while recalling visions, diluting their power. Progress shows. Sleep improves. Appetite returns. Community ties strengthen too. Mia, now interning at the museum, sends photos of the mask exhibit, captioned, "Caged at last." Jake organizes a town fundraiser for the Crisis Center, turning the old mill into an event space. Symbolic rebirth. Evelyn Grant, the librarian, donates rare books on local lore, whispering, "Knowledge tames fear." These acts weave a safety net, illustrating social support's role in recovery, as per a 2020 study in social psychiatry and psychiatric epidemiology, linking strong networks to halve depression rates. Yet, a new shadow emerges. Reports of copycat masks surfacing online. Forums buzz with users claiming visions after buying replicas from shady sites. Ethan, alerted by Mia, dives in pseudonymously, warning posters about the dangers. "It's not magic, it's your mind playing tricks," he types, citing the placebo effect in artifact studies from the Smithsonian. One user responds privately, a teen in a neighboring town spiraling from a vision of betrayal. Ethan guides him to resources, becoming an unwitting mentor across miles. This draws unwanted attention. A package arrives at Ethan's door. No sender. Inside, a crude mask replica, eyes painted accusingly. Heart racing, he calls Lena and Carla. Hank's followers, Carla muses, bagging it for prints. Analysis reveals fingerprints tied to a released accomplice. The threat escalates. Slashed tires. Eerie calls. Ethan confronts the fear head-on, refusing to hide. With Jake's help, he sets a trap. Cameras at the house, baiting with a fake online post about exposing more secrets. The culprit bites. A midnight intruder, masked ironically, caught on tape rummaging the basement. Deputies swoop in. It's a low-level thug, confessing Hank paid him from prison to harass. He said the curse lives on. Carla smirks. Curses don't pay bail. The arrest closes another loop, but Ethan realizes true redemption lies in forgiveness, not of others, but self. As summer nears, Ethan and Lena plan a trip, away from Willow Creek's whispers. Packing, he finds a forgotten journal entry from the height of madness. Am I the monster? He burns it in the backyard fire pit, ashes scattering like released demons. The past whispers, but Ethan listens to the future's call. Redemption shadows shorten, light prevailing. Yet one whisper remains. What if the original mask holds untapped truths? Summer sunbathes. Willow Creek in golden light, transforming the once shadowed town into a canvas of vibrant greens and blooming wildflowers along the creek's banks. Ethan Harper stands on the old iron bridge, the site of pivotal confrontations, now a symbol of bridges rebuilt. Lena's hand in his feels like an anchor, their engagement ring catching the rays as they watch kayakers glide below. We've come far, Ethan murmurs, the whispers of the past now faint echoes rather than roaring tempests. His book, Foresight's Illusion, nears completion, chapters weaving his saga with universal truths. Publishers praise its blend of thriller and psychology, likening it to bestsellers like The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk, which details how trauma imprints on the psyche, much like the mask's induced visions scarred Ethan's mind. Final edits focus on the core lesson. Fear, when unchecked, becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Ethan illustrates this with personal anecdotes and evidence from renowned studies. He references the work of psychologist Martin Seligman on learned helplessness, where repeated exposure to uncontrollable events, like the mask's relentless visions, leads individuals to passive acceptance of doom. A 1975 experiment with dogs showed how perceived inescapability fostered depression-like states, mirroring Ethan's descent into paranoia. Applying this to everyday life, Ethan writes, in relationships, fearing betrayal can provoke behaviors that invite it. Constant suspicion, eroding trust, as seen in couples therapy data from the Gottman Institute, where negative predictions correlate with 91% divorce rates. To make it relatable, Ethan draws parallels to modern issues. In the workplace, imposter syndrome acts like a personal mask, foreseeing failure and sabotaging success. Harvard Business Review articles cite surveys where 70% of executives experience this, leading to underperformance despite competence. Break the cycle by challenging assumptions, Ethan advises, backed by cognitive restructuring techniques from Aaron Beck's CBT model, proven to reduce anxiety by 50% in clinical trials per a 2015 meta-analysis in behavior research and therapy. For parents, he warns against projecting fears onto children, overprotectiveness, stifling growth, as evidenced by longitudinal studies from the University of Minnesota showing sheltered kids develop higher anxiety disorders. Ethan's own application shines through community outreach. He hosts workshops at the Crisis Center, using role-playing to simulate vision scenarios. Participants, from stressed teens to burnout professionals, report breakthroughs. One attendee, a single mom, echoing Ethan's grief, shares, "I saw my ex as the killer of my dreams. Now I see my role in rebuilding. Feedback surveys align with positive psychology findings from Martin Seligman's PERMA model, where purpose and engagement boost well-being by 40%. Mia, assisting as a co-facilitator, integrates tech, apps tracking thought patterns, inspired by mood logging studies in the Journal of Medical Internet Research that show digital interventions cut depression symptoms by 30%. Yet, Eternity's echoes test this wisdom. The museum reports odd occurrences around the original mask, visitors claiming fleeting glimpses, dismissed as suggestion but stirring media buzz. A local news segment interviews Ethan, who debunks calmly, placebo power, our brains fill blanks. Behind the scenes, he collaborates with curators on ethical displays, citing UNESCO guidelines on cultural artifacts to prevent exploitation. Victor's latest contact, a video call, reveals his thriving in a new town, running a support group. "Your story saved me," he says, embodying redemption's ripple. Personal echoes surface during wedding preparations. Lena's bridal shower uncovers old photos of Sarah, stirring guilt. Ethan confronts it in therapy, using mindfulness from John Kabat-Zinn's MBSR program, which reduces stress by 35% per NIH-funded research. Honor the past without letting it dictate the future, he internalizes. The ceremony, set in the quarry, reclaimed as a park, symbolizes transformation. Guests like Carla, Mia, Jake, and Evelyn gather under strung lights, toasts celebrating resilience. In his book's epilogue, Ethan distills the lesson. The true mask is the one we wear daily, filters of fear distorting reality. Remove it through awareness, evidence, and connection. As Viktor Frankl wrote in Man's Search for Meaning, between stimulus and response lies choice. Choose light. Backed by Frankl's logotherapy, validated in post-Holocaust survivor studies showing meaning-making halves PTSD incidents. As fireworks burst over the creek post-wedding, Ethan whispers to Lena, "No more echoes, just us." Eternity listens, but the couple walks forward, unmasked. Years unfold like pages in a well-worn book for Ethan Harper, each chapter building on the lessons etched by the Mask of Foresight. Willow Creek evolves too. A town once veiled in secrets now thrives with transparency. Its mill repurposed into a community arts center where stories of resilience are painted on canvases and performed on stages. Ethan's memoir hits shelves, climbing bestseller lists not for sensationalism, but for its raw honesty about the human psyche. Reviews praise it as a modern man's search for meaning, drawing parallels to Viktor Frankl's work on finding purpose amid suffering. Readers flood his inbox with testimonials, a CEO who dismantled his paranoia-driven empire, a student who confronted exam anxieties head-on. "Your words unmasked my fears," one writes, echoing the book's core message. Ethan tours modestly, book signings in cozy libraries, podcasts dissecting psychological underpinnings. On one episode of Mind Unlocked, he expounds, "The mask taught me that foresight isn't prediction, it's projection. We craft our futures from inner narratives." He backs this with neuroscientific evidence from fMRI studies at Stanford, where brain scans show fear circuits activating identically for real and imagined threats, as detailed in a 2017 Nature Neuroscience paper. Application. In daily decisions, pause and question. Is this fear fact-based or fiction? Listeners apply it to career pivots, citing Bureau of Labor Statistics data on midlife changes boosting happiness by 20% when fear is reframed. Back home, family life anchors him. Lena gives birth to their daughter, Sarah, named in honor, not haunting. The child's laughter fills the house, an antidote to old whispers. Parenting brings new tests. Nighttime worries about her safety mirror, Ethan's visions. He counters with evidence-based strategies from the American Academy of Pediatrics, like routines reducing child anxiety by 45% per longitudinal studies. No masks for her, only open eyes, he vows, reading bedtime stories of heroes facing inner demons. Yet the final revelation brews subtly. Mia, now a full-fledged anthropologist, contacts Ethan from a dig site in the Appalachians. Found something. Another mask variant, buried with tribal records. Photos show similarities. Carvings evoking eyes and serpents. Ethan flies out, Lena in tow, to the remote valley where mist clings to ancient mounds. The team unearths journals from 18th century shamans. Translated, the masks weren't curses, but tools for self-reflection, meant to reveal inner conflicts for healing, not harm. Distorted by colonizers into weapons of fear, Mia explains, citing historical texts from the Smithsonian on cultural misappropriation leading to myths like the one that plagued Willow Creek. Ethan holds the artifact, wood warm, not ominous. No visions assail. Instead, insight dawns. All along, it was a mirror, not a crystal ball. This aligns with Jungian analysis in the archetypes in the collective unconscious, where symbols like masks represent the shadow self, integration fostering wholeness, application to life. In therapy, confronting shadows prevents projection onto others, reducing relational conflicts by 60%, as per couples research in the Journal of Family Psychology. The revelation ripples. Ethan updates his book for a second edition, incorporating this. Media frenzy follows. CNN interviews on cultural repatriation, emphasizing UNESCO's conventions protecting indigenous knowledge from exploitation. Willow Creek hosts a symposium, drawing experts like Lena, who presents on ethical anthropology. Victor attends virtually, sharing his journey from foreseen killer to free man, thanks to unmasking lies. Personal closure arrives during a family hike to the quarry park. Sarah, toddling ahead, picks a stone resembling a shard. Ethan smiles, no fear rising. Just a rock, kiddo. That night, a dream. The alley, but empty, peaceful. Echoes silenced. Waking, he journals the ultimate lesson. Life's not about avoiding death's face, but embracing your own. Apply it daily. In arguments, seek understanding over accusation. In setbacks, growth over regret. Evidence abounds. Resilience training in military programs cuts PTSD by 50% per VA studies. Victor said it. Live as if second time rightly. As stars wheel over Maine, Ethan sleeps soundly. The final revelation, not an end, but a beginning. Eternal cycle of learning, unmasked. Decades later, Ethan Harper stands before a packed auditorium at Boston University, silver hair catching the stage lights as he concludes a guest lecture on the psychology of prophecy. The room, filled with eager students and colleagues, hangs on his words. His book, now in its 5th edition, has inspired a generation, but today he speaks from the heart. The Mask of Foresight wasn't just an artifact. It was a metaphor for the masks we all wear, filters of fear, doubt, and assumption that distort our reality. Applause ripples as he steps down. Lena, his wife of 20 years, waiting in the wings with their grown daughter Sarah, now an anthropologist following in Mia's footsteps. Willow Creek is a distant memory, but its lessons endure, woven into Ethan's legacy. The final chapter of his life unfolds with quiet purpose. Retired from teaching, Ethan consults on cultural preservation projects, advising museums on handling cursed relics with psychological sensitivity. He references guidelines from the International Council of Museums, emphasizing mental health protocols to prevent viewer suggestibility, as seen in case studies where exhibit goers reported hallucinations from mere descriptions. Knowledge without wisdom breeds fear, he tells curators, drawing from his ordeal. Sarah, collaborating on digs, uncovers more mask variants, tools for tribal introspection, not doom. Her publications in the Journal of Anthropological Research cite carbon dating and ethnographic interviews, proving their therapeutic origins, twisted by colonial narratives into horrors. But the legacy's true power lies in practical applications, rippling through everyday lives. Ethan's workshops, now virtual, reach global audiences. In one session on relationships, he teaches fearing infidelity can provoke it through constant accusations, creating the very betrayal you dread. He supports this with data from the Kinsey Institute's longitudinal studies on couples, showing that mistrust escalates conflict in 65% of cases, while open communication reduces divorce risks by 50%. Participants apply it. A viewer emails, "I stopped foreseeing arguments with my spouse. Now we talk, and trust grows." For career guidance, Ethan advises against imposter syndrome's mask. It predicts failure, leading to self-sabotage. Backed by a 2022 McKinsey report on workplace mental health, where 82% of employees report such fears hindering promotions, he recommends journaling achievements, a technique from positive psychology that boosts confidence by 40%, per University of Pennsylvania studies. In parenting, the lesson hits home. Ethan shares how he raised Sarah without overprotection, fostering independence. Projecting your traumas onto kids creates anxious adults, he warns, citing the CDC's Adverse Childhood Experiences study, linking parental fear-driven behaviors to higher rates of mental health issues in offspring. Instead, encourage resilience through challenges as evidenced by Harvard's grant study spanning 80 years, showing adaptable individuals live longer, happier lives. Sarah embodies this. Her expeditions teach her to face unknowns without paranoia. Health applications emerge too. Ethan collaborates with therapists on PTSD programs, using his story to illustrate exposure therapy. Confront the vision gradually, he explains, referencing VA trials where virtual reality simulations of fears reduce symptoms by 70%. For physical wellness, he ties it to preventive care. Fearing illness can manifest stress-related diseases. Mayo Clinic research supports this, linking chronic anxiety to heart disease in 30% of cases, while mindfulness practices cut risks by half. Financially, the principle applies to investing. Foresight tainted by fear leads to panic selling. Ethan quotes Warren Buffett's philosophy, backed by behavioral economics from Nobel laureate Daniel Kahneman's Thinking Fast and Slow, where emotional biases cause 80% of poor decisions. Diversify and educate, he urges, citing Vanguard studies showing informed investors outperform by 15% annually. Globally, the legacy influences policy. Ethan's advocacy leads to mental health clauses in cultural heritage laws inspired by UNESCO's Intangible Heritage Framework. In crisis zones, aid workers use his methods to combat rumor-driven panics, as in WHO reports on Ebola outbreaks where fear amplified spread by 25%. As twilight falls on his life, Ethan sits with Lena on their porch, overlooking a garden blooming eternally. Sarah visits with grandchildren, their laughter the ultimate unmasking. The greatest lesson, Ethan reflects, is that life's not predetermined. We author our stories. Evidence abounds. Neuroplasticity research from UCLA shows brains rewire with positive habits, enabling change at any age. Viktor Frankl's echo resounds, meaning triumphs over fate. The unseen legacy endures, not in artifacts, but in lives transformed. No more masks, only clear vision ahead.